Hi, everybody. Welcome to the LA Strong Return and Rebuild Palisades Community Updates hosted by Mayor Karen Bass, as well as Councilmember Tracy Park, who will be joining us. We tonight will be focused on weather updates regarding the storm that is here, as well as the city's preparation and some immediate information that could be useful to you and your households. After that, we will provide a quick announcement about the worker and family resource centers that we are announcing, and we'll be doing a deeper dive webinar and community briefing on Tuesday. At this time, I would like to invite all those who are joining to please utilize, if you are interested, various interpretation functions. We are offering tonight American Sign Language, closed captioning, as well as Spanish interpretation. So for those who need those resources, you can use the globe that says interpretation at the bottom of your screen. You can click on that and you can select either Spanish or American Sign Language or ASL. To view captions, there is a link that we're going to put into the chat, and you can go ahead and click on that link, and then there will be closed captionings on your screen. Again, for those that are interested in interpretation this evening in either American Sign Language or Spanish, you can click on the globe at the bottom of your screen and select Spanish or ASL. You can also have closed captioning by clicking on the link that will be provided in your chat function, and you will then be able to see closed captioning after a brief delay. I'm going to go ahead and invite my colleague to share the information about the Spanish translation in Spanish.
Para escuchar esta reunión en español, vaya a la parte inferior de su pantalla y haga clic en el botón de interpretación con el símbolo de un globo. Seleccione español y desactive el audio original. Gracias.
Thank you. And we'll go ahead and go to the next slide, please. Tonight, the mayor will start off with remarks, then we'll provide an update from the National Weather Service and updates on evacuation warnings and orders, road closures, storm preparation, and then a last update on our impacted worker and family recovery center. You can go ahead and take down the slides, and we'll have Mayor Karen Bass kick us off.
Good evening, everyone. I hope that you are someplace warm and inside. We know that this storm is going to hit its height. The storm is predicted to take place between 4 and 9 p.m. today. So this is a critical time. So hopefully you are inside and inside safe. You know that Caltrans announced this afternoon that PCH is closed to all except for emergency workers. So clearly we know this is a dynamic situation, and you can be sure on the city level at City Hall, we have an all hands on deck approach to make sure that everyone gets the resources that they need in the area so that we can be safe. City crews have installed concrete barriers and sandbags to stop mud flows. And I know that there have been mudslides, but it hasn't been as bad as we have been concerned about. The fire department has pre-positioned swift water rescue and urban search and rescue teams, bulldozers, and other resources. DWP crews are activated to respond to power outages, and LAPD officers are checking on critical infrastructure and are ready to facilitate evacuations. So we're staying on top of the storm.
Están listos para evacuar y remediar la situación. Siempre están listos en el centro de operación de emergencia de tormentas. Se deploran por toda la ciudad. Así que les pedimos a todos los angelinos que estén vigilantes. Bien, y ahora escucho acá la traducción en
Yes, I
español.
as well. For our Spanish interpreter, if you could please go back to the Spanish part of Zoom for our Spanish interpretation versus the English room in Zoom. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. So shortly, you'll hear from the National Weather Service expert shortly, but I did want to provide you some other updates on the recovery process. So yesterday, we opened a one-stop rebuilding center in West LA. I hope that you all have an opportunity to visit there. We have 12 city offices, so anything you want to do on planning and permitting, you can get started now. So we are excited about that, and we hope that it'll be very helpful. Please visit, please let us know how it is working for you. Anything that we need to do to improve it. We want people to be able to begin this process now as we are in phase 1 and phase 2 in many neighborhoods. So today we also opened 4 impacted worker and family recovery centers to help workers who have been impacted by the fires. So we hope that you will let anyone who was employed by you, either inside your home, outside on your property, or if you know individuals who worked at the commercial businesses, to let them know we are going to have 4 impacted worker centers. There will be one on the west side, in Sylmar, South LA, and Boyle Heights. You can go to lacity.org to get that information. As was mentioned at the beginning, we want this to be a very quick webinar. We're going to stay on for questions and answers, and hopefully you've been able to get your questions answered. If you weren't able to have them answered during the webinar, hopefully you got information from us later. At this point, let me introduce our Councilwoman, Tracy Park. Thank you, everyone.
Madam Mayor, thank you so much again for hosting these meetings. I know that this is a really helpful check-in for our community. Really want to thank everyone for their cooperation with the recent evacuations and staying away from the Palisades area. Huge kudos to all of the frontline workers that have been on the ground around the clock, getting us ready for this storm. It is raining cats and dogs over here in Venice. And so I know it is wet and slippery out there, guys. So everyone just continue if you can to avoid the roads and stay out of that area. I don't want to give any additional too much information. I want to keep us on track, but I just wanted to dovetail with one more important announcement that relates to the one-stop permitting center, which, by the way, is great. I was over there yesterday myself. Pursuant to the governor's executive order today, the city will now be able to share copies of plans that it already has on file directly with property owners that are getting ready to rebuild, because there was a state law issue there that was causing some delays. We are very grateful for the help on that. So just another step in the right direction as we are cutting through the bureaucracy and the delay. Great job, everyone, getting that problem addressed. So with that, I'll wrap it up. We'll see you soon.
And let me just add in, Councilwoman, you're absolutely right. We're very lucky that we have the support of our governor, because we thought we were going to have to get a state bill in order to get that done. But you know what he said? He said, look, any changes you want, tell me about them, and we can put them in an executive order. So as you visit the One Stop Rebuilding Center, if you find roadblocks like that, don't just accept it. It might be a policy that needs to be changed. And we're in a situation where we can get that done. With leadership like the councilwoman and the governor, we can make it happen. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councilmember Park. We are going to now hear an update from the National Weather Service meteorologist, James Brotherton.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone. We are in the midst of the heaviest part of the storm event right now through about 10 p.m. this evening. So the heaviest rain bands are moving across the Los Angeles area right now. Very intense rainfall rates up to about 1 inch per hour. So we do have flash flood warnings for much of the city, including the burn scars. So we do urge people, if you must be out on the roads, turn around, don't drown. If you encounter any flooded roads, do not drive through those roads because the water could be deeper than you think. Also, the water is fast moving, so if you do enter a flooded area, you can quickly be swept to a more dangerous area. So the weather will finally improve after 10 p.m. this evening. We'll see some scattered showers through tomorrow morning. And then luckily our outlook for the weekend is quiet weather. So we just have to get through the next several hours of heavy rain, and then we'll see some improving conditions. And that's it from the National Weather Service. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, we will introduce Chief Deputy from the Los Angeles Fire Department, Jason Hing.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Jason Hing, and I am the Chief Deputy of Emergency Operations for your Los Angeles Fire Department, representing Fire Chief Crowley. As we enter this third day of the significant storm, the Los Angeles City Emergency Operations Center remains at a level 2 activation to coordinate the city's comprehensive response. Under the leadership of Mayor Karen Bass and other city officials, our city partners continue to work together to ensure the safety and well-being of all Angelenos. The EOC staff has been working around the clock to maintain city services and respond to critical issues. This atmospheric river system that our friends from NOAA has just talked about has brought persistent rainfall across the Los Angeles region, creating many hazardous road conditions and increasing the risk of mudslides and flooding. So far, the latest impact on the storm has generated 323 reported mudslides throughout the city. And with the heaviest rainfall of the day impacting us now, our saturated hillsides now become even more vulnerable to additional mudslides. And you see up on the slide there, we do have the evacuation warning in effect in certain areas within the Palisades, Mandeville Canyon, Sunset, and Hearst burn scar areas until 2 p.m. tomorrow. So we strongly urge residents to avoid travel in the hillside areas whenever possible. If you live in these areas, please stay informed on conditions and follow all evacuation warnings or orders. The Latuna Canyon evacuation order remains in effect due to concerns over mudslides near the land fire burn scar. For any latest updates on evacuation orders and sites, visit lafd.org. Yesterday afternoon, we were reminded of the extreme dangers posed by the storm when LAFD successfully rescued a victim who was swept away in the rapidly flowing Los Angeles River. So please stay away from the riverbanks and flood channels. They remain extremely dangerous. The LAFD has responded to an increase in weather-related emergencies, including several swiftwater rescues, downed power lines, and flooding incidents. And as Mayor Bass has mentioned, to ensure the highest level of emergency response, your LAFD has augmented additional staffing, including the swiftwater rescue teams, urban search and rescue teams, tractor companies, helicopter pilots, command vehicles, brush patrols, and additional dispatchers. This proactive approach enables us to respond effectively to all emergencies and protect lives and property. We have also moved several of our augmented resources recently into the Palisades area to assist with any needs that may arise during the heaviest part of this storm. So as the storm continues to impact our city, we urge all residents to remain vigilant. And if you must travel, please exercise caution. Avoid standing or moving water. Reduce your speed when driving. Be aware of downed power lines and fallen trees. And be careful out there. For non-emergency issues, please continue calling 311 to report any storm-related concerns. Since the storm began, 311 has fielded over 3,500 service requests, helping to prioritize the city's response efforts. I also want to thank personally all of our public safety personnel and our valuable city partners for their dedication and tireless efforts in keeping Los Angeles safe. I also want to thank and acknowledge Mayor Bass for her leadership during this time of crisis. So as we begin transitioning to the storm recovery phase over the next few days, all city departments will conduct damage assessments and coordinate efforts to address service calls and mitigate storm-related impacts. That is the end of my report. Thank you. Please continue to stay safe and dry.
Thank you very much, Chief Deputy. Next, we are going to go to Caltrans. We have Colleen Park representing Caltrans to provide an update on PCH. Colleen, could you please come on video?
You. The Pacific Coast Highway remains closed to the public between Chautauqua Boulevard and Carbon Beach Terrace. The closure was upgraded today from a soft to a hard closure due to debris flow at several locations and water impacting the road. The roadway is waterlogged, covered in mud. This is very dangerous. And so access to PCH within the closure is limited to emergency vehicles and workers. At this time, Caltrans is anticipating PCH will be able to move to a soft closure again at 6 a.m. when we reevaluate tomorrow. For safety reasons, this means no private property contractors, EPA contractors, city workers with passes, or utility workers are allowed in the closure. Safety is always our priority, and the decision to close or reopen PCH through the burn area is a joint decision made by Caltrans with our agency partners. It is reassessed daily, and we will continue to update the public through advisories, social media, and the website on reopening. Thank you.
Thank you, Caltrans. We appreciate it. Back to Mayor Bass for an update on storm preparations. Next slide.
9,000 feet of concrete barriers, the K-rails, and 7,000 sandbags have been distributed throughout the Palisades. We want to ensure that we have the systems in place so that any of the runoff will be captured before it flows into the ocean. And I think that people are aware that if you needed to evacuate, the Los Angeles Police Department knocked on every single individual door to notify residents. A door hanger was put on the door, and you would have gotten a text message. Again, we expect the rain to be harder beginning now throughout the evening. Please stay home and stay safe.
Next slide.
As I mentioned, the Impacted Worker and Family Recovery Center opened today. There will be 4 locations, and there's 3 things that happen at the Recovery Center. You can have help with accessing food, transportation, healthcare, and other basic needs, and connection to public benefits. We also will provide unemployment assistance and other financial help for workers and contractors, and assistance with jobs. And there will also be information to apply for grants for impacted small businesses. So the next slide will show you the various locations: West LA, Northeast San Fernando, Boyle Heights, and the West Adams area. Although the facility in West LA is technically Culver City, it's like about a couple of streets away from Los Angeles. So please, 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 if there are individuals that worked for you in your residence, on your property, or if you happen to know of employees that worked in the commercial businesses that are now closed, please tell them about this. You can also contact the Mayor's Fund. It's the We Are LA hotline at 213-584-1804. 213-584-1804. Hopefully these are resources that everyone can use. And again, I just want to say, when you have an opportunity, please go by the One Stop Recovery and Rebuilding Center, and let's get started on rebuilding Palisades. Thank you very much, and be safe.
Thank you, Mayor Bass. And we are keeping this webinar very brief today, but we are going to take a couple of verbal questions, and then we'll stay on to answer some questions via the Q&A function of the chat. If we can go ahead and go to the next slide, we'll go ahead and answer or ask one question at this point in time, and we may get to others as well. But before we go to the next slide, there seem to be a number of questions regarding when contractors can go back in to the Palisades, as well as when PCH will reopen again. Obviously, that's going to be based on safety. I'm going to invite our Caltrans colleagues, Colleen Park, to come back on and say anything more about PCH reopening that you're able to share at this point in time.
As I've said, this will be moving to a soft closure. This will be reevaluated tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. And that soft closure may allow for contractors. The decision to open to residents and the public, we have no information at this time, but we are evaluating every day.
Thank you very much, Colleen, and the Caltrans team. We are going to announce that frequently asked questions have been compiled based on the feedback that you have provided to us in all of these briefings. You've given us lots of questions. We've compiled it into a frequently asked questions document that is available via this QR code, as well as we put a link into the chat. So please keep those questions coming, and we'll answer as many as we can on these webinars, as well as answer your questions through the frequently asked questions document. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We have a couple of questions in the chat today about the hours of the Disaster Recovery Center. The hours for the Disaster Recovery Center, which again, that center is located on Westwood and Pico at what used to be the West Side Pavilion. And the hours are from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. 7 days a week. That's Monday through Sunday at this point in time. Again, 9 a.m. To 7 p.m. And the question also says, will they be adjusted in the future? We are basically examining and tracking when people are frequenting the center. The hours may change for the Disaster Recovery Center based on foot traffic, and those will be evaluated. But again, the hours are 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. at this point in time. We'll go ahead and go to the next slide, please. Again, our next session for these webinars is Tuesday. That's next Tuesday, February 18th at 5 p.m. We are going to be doing a deep dive around the assistance centers that we're opening. These are impacted worker and family recovery centers for individuals that may have lost jobs or income in relation to the fires. Now, this will be happening, as was stated earlier, there are the 4 centers that were put on the screen. We will put information about that into the chat, but want to make sure that folks are able to register for that more in-depth webinar on Tuesday. We were planning to do an in-depth webinar tonight. However, because of the weather, we decided to keep this session short and make sure that we were getting the most relevant information out to the community in regards to the storms. So please, if you would like, you can register for next Tuesday's session to do a deeper dive on the impacted worker and family recovery centers. And at this time, I think we have a couple more minutes. We'll take a little bit of time for a couple more questions. One question in the chat is, or in the Q&A, is from Paul Notaras. Paul is asking, thank you so much for announcing the ability to get plans for your home. And how can we get copies of the original pre-fire plans for our home? So as was stated earlier, Governor Newsom has issued an executive order to ensure that state law is not an impediment to accessing those plans. Those plans are going to be available. You can go ahead and stop by the one-stop shop, the One-Stop Rebuilding Center, which is on Satel. We'll put the address and the hours for that one-stop shop into the chat shortly. But you can get your plans and talk to individuals about how to get your plans there at the site, and they'll let you know what information they need from you in order to get those plans. Coming very, very soon. One-Stop Shop Rebuilding Center, open from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Saturday and Sunday. Both the Disaster Recovery Center and the One-Stop Rebuilding Center on Satel are open this coming Monday on the President's Day holiday, because we want to make sure that everybody is able to access the services and the resources as quickly as possible. I'm seeing a couple of questions in the chat as well about the recovery, the Impacted Worker and Family Recovery Center. So if we could go ahead, the centers, the 4 of them, if we can go ahead and put back up the slide for those 4 centers, their addresses, as well as their hours and the hotline. And then we'll go ahead and wrap up the webinar. But if our team could please put up the slide for the Impacted Worker and Family Recovery Center. That way we can have all the addresses and the right phone numbers back up on the slide. And while we're doing that, I'll go ahead and invite Mayor Bass if you'd like to share any closing remarks as we wrap up this webinar, or Councilmember Park. We'll stay on briefly to answer any questions through the Q&A function. Thank you. If you could go to the slide with the addresses and the phone number. I've just seen a couple of questions in the chat about where to get those resources. Thank you. All right, everybody. Like we said, today was focused on the weather. We will be providing more information on Tuesday's webinar about the impacted worker and family recovery centers. But this is the slide where you can go and see all these centers, one in Culver City, Sylmar, in South Los Angeles, as well as East Los Angeles and Boyle Heights. We hope that folks are able to receive and visit these centers and receive the services, whether it be cash assistance, rental assistance, as well as a variety of other employment and youth resources. At this time, we'll go ahead and wrap up the verbal portion of the program. We'll continue to answer questions in the Q&A function of Zoom for the next few minutes, and we'll see you on Tuesday evening. Thank you very much for participating.